Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
From Asthmacore Studios near Detroit, Michigan, it's Unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
And now, here are your hosts.
Welcome to Regiment number 274. I'm Chris.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Rich.
And we are blessed with Trump's presence in our own state right now. Did you know that? As we're recording this, he's in Grand Rapids holding his first rally post-Mueller report.
I thought I felt some gods being created.
Yeah.
You could feel waves of MAGA moving from the west towards us.
Yeah, so
Wah wah.
This is what we were all waiting for. Well, we haven't even seen it, right? We don't even know what's in it.
Here we just get the snarky recap from the Attorney General.
Right. Hey, if anyone's in despair over this news, then I don't know what to tell you, because this is what was to be expected, right? Whatever happened, it was going to be first spun by Barr, who was put there in the first place to spin this report. And, everybody else was going to take their own spin on it anyway. The fact that we're all basing conclusions off of one man's biased 4-page summary of a 300-page report is kind of ridiculous. We need to see the whole thing. And the idea of exoneration wasn't even in there. I mean, it's a damning report that says, here's the evidence, and I leave it up to the Attorney General to decide if charges are to be filed. And no surprise, William Barr looked at it and said, doesn't add up to collusion. All right.
He's the equivalent of wiping it with his ass. Oh, yep, here's what I think of this. Cool.
I think there's too many people also misunderstanding it. Just because there's no evidence of collusion, that doesn't mean that Russia didn't meddle in the 2016, 2018 elections. They continue to do so. They continue to post shit, inflammatory shit to both sides and try to spread fake news. That has nothing to do. It could have been someone besides Trump running, and I think they'd have still done that.
Yeah.
But too many people are going, so, see, Russia's done nothing. They haven't even messed with our elections. And I'm thinking, are you out of your fucking mind?
Yeah.
Of course they have. We fuck with everyone's elections. Get over this bullshit that, this is like Chutes and Ladders in Candyland, guys. That's what big governments do with each other. Fuck with each other.
Well,
farms are still there.
Yeah, there's very little talk in this summary of Russia's effectiveness in whether they were able to tip the election, because the Republicans have finally acquiesced and said, all right, look, Russia was trying a lot of shady shit, yeah. But if they portray any aspect of that as being successful, then that automatically lessens their candidate, and they're just not going to go there. So I guess we're just not going to solve this issue. We're going to continue to argue about whether our own president is legitimate or not, and I guess continue to be vulnerable to, because even now, people don't even understand how they were manipulated. And it's like you were saying, Rich, it was just about stirring shit up. It wasn't specifically that they went, oh, we're all in for Trump, so all of our stuff is going to be pro-Trump and anti-Hillary. That was a portion of it, yeah, because that was one of the big issues that was stirring up America.
Absolutely.
But it was everything. Any story that seemed to pick a side in America, right? They were right there to push behind it.
Yeah, they just noticed, hey, look at these people are dumb. Check this out.
They were trolling in the truest. They were trolling in the truest sense of the term. They had no ideological belief behind it. They were just there to cause chaos and mayhem, just stir the shit pot.
They saw a country in this tug of war that was at some kind of stasis, and they just started randomly adding people to each side and disrupted it.
They did it because they could. God damn it, that's halfway admirable.
What? I mean, they did it because they want to take America down a notch. Us and many other countries.
Hey, they noticed a vulnerability and they exploited it and continue to do so.
Yeah.
We're still sharing things from questionable news sources all day.
Yeah.
You know, when's the last, Rich, I'm sure you see stuff all day from, what is it, lockerup.com or shit. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Yeah.
it's not, I mean, not completely. You're never going to get rid of fake news. The Inquirer is always going to be a quote unquote news source for some people because some people just want to read garbage. But
But it's pretty bad when I'm opining about wanting Bat Boy back for our fake news.
Yeah, no shit. Well, but Facebook is losing users. You know, and any attempt to actually like control this doesn't seem to be effective. You know, I mean, certainly Facebook has shut down accounts that they realized were bots, but I mean, that's just a drop in the ocean.
Facebook seems to be taking the there's going to be collateral damage, so whatever attitude, because it's gotten ridiculous. Like I'm in a couple groups for video games where you have to grind for gear. So people trade, their gear or sell it for in-game currency, and they've gotten to the point where you have to find ways to talk around saying I have this 9mm plus 10, looking to sell it because it gets flagged and pulled, and you get a ban for it because they say it's against their policy to sell firearms over Facebook.
Video game firearms.
Well,
right? That's what we're talking about, or
yeah, video game firearms. This is all in video, but their algorithms pick it up as you just made an attempt to sell a firearm over Facebook.
Are we heading down the road of the algorithm knows best? No, Dave, I can't do that.
Well, I've had 3 posts pulled in the last week. One of them from 5 years ago. And I actually was like, let me see what happens if I fight this. If I say, wait a minute, I don't understand why this was pulled. And it took like 2 or 3 times of sending stuff to where I finally actually appeared to have talked to somebody. And it wasn't just like, the same shit being sent out.
Hello, Richard. How can Facebook help you today?
I think Facebook's stance is really to pivot to the next platform. I think they realize that Facebook isn't going to last forever. That it'll hang around because people like what they like, and some people are just going to stick with Facebook. So Facebook will be for older people, and they're just moving those people onto Instagram. The people that they're losing on Facebook. Everyone's like, I'm ditching Facebook now. I'm going straight Instagram. I'm like, okay, your data is all going the same place.
See, I wonder how long we have until they're treated like publishers, because we're seeing what's his name, the Sandman from the whatever the high school was.
Oh, the Catholic high school.
Yeah, he's suing a bunch of people because of stuff that they posted on Twitter for libel, and I guess his lawsuits are actually holding water. So how long until is the clock ticking on Facebook and Twitter are then put under the same rules as like publishers?
Well, I think that's already started. Yeah, they
are the vehicle. They technically, if you really want to get down to it, they kind of are.
They're being treated as news aggregators, and in that way, we haven't exactly defined these lines, but yeah, we are trying to hold them responsible for that in some way.
If a news site was as irresponsible with the dissemination of information as Facebook and Twitter are, they would be laughed. We'd be talking about, hey, remember CNN? It's
right, but this
saying they just wildly put information out there like you are able to on social media.
Right, but Facebook, the company themselves, isn't necessarily putting out the information. They may may be boosting certain things
is they're providing the vehicle for the information to be wildly and erroneously.
Right, and outside of just offering the platform, they outright accept ad money as well. If you want to boost an inflammatory article to stir some shit up, and you're a Russian, whatever. I don't know what you would call these people that do this, but it's cheap. It's $50. $20,
They should.
$100, you know, just
Have a podcast network and a podcast about cannabis, then they don't want your money.
yeah.
Zuckerberg's lying right there, kids.
So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I wish that we were talking more about, but I wish more that we would get to actually see the complete document, or that somebody other than, you know, Trump's attorney general and what I assume is people in the White House actually seeing this and making an opinion about what's inside of it.
It's total and complete exoneration. All right, you saw the tweet. It's over, right? We'll never hear about it ever again after this week.
Yeah. Well, there's also the question of why there were no further charges. I mean, it seems as simple as, well, there wasn't enough evidence to get to a charge. But if that was the case, it would seem that would be the recommendation, right? We don't have enough to prove anything here, so as far as the law is concerned, he's innocent. That's not what's in the summation that Barr gave us. It's not enough evidence to...
Like, didn't the summation say, pretty sure he obstructed justice, but we don't have enough evidence? Like, wasn't that part of the summation?
I think it was pretty sure they have enough on collusion, or they have a lot of evidence on collusion, but they can't prove it. It doesn't talk in that 4-page summary. It doesn't really discuss obstruction.
Yeah, I thought that's what where everything came from was. As far as collusion, there was no proof, but obstruction, that's where I believe Mueller. Yeah, I actually said or at least the phrase was in the letter. Like, he's not completely exonerated. We're pretty sure he obstructed justice, but we can't prove it. So,
well, didn't they actually refer to him as an unindicted conspirator?
He was individual number one.
Maybe it was. I don't know. There's been so much talk about what's wishful thinking for people, and then there's been so much talk about interpreting what the 4-page is trying to say about a report that they haven't seen yet. So
yeah, unindicted co-conspirator is kind of language that it's lawyer-like language that they can use to scare the shit out of somebody to get them to fess up.
Well, yeah. Right? I mean, it's basically saying
it doesn't really mean anything outside of that. You can't charge somebody for being an unindicted because it's right there in it. You're unindicted, right? But it's a term that sounds very official. Like, oh, you're in the system now as an unindicted co-conspirator. i.e. innocent because we couldn't prove anything.
I was about to say, yeah, you're an unarrested drug user. What does that mean?
Exactly.
So nothing then?
The rest of
okay.
the population, yeah.
It's like I'm going to have to check the oh shit, I'm an unarrested drug user on the fucking next job app I fill out.
Right.
Why was I secretly hoping his nickname was going to be Chester? I was just hoping like some kind of elusive Cheeto reference in the report.
Is that gonna be like the name of the report, and then the subtitle is "It's not easy being cheesy." The Donald Trump report.
Yeah, the report's not easy being cheesy.
Well, I mean, it's not like I went out on a limb and made a wild and reckless prediction, but I mean, it's pretty much exactly what I predicted last episode was going to happen with the usual suspects that I know on the right. They're wearing themselves out, taking victory laps.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And I mean, I think it's
you're
time.
taking victory laps on your president was almost indicted of a crime, right? There was so much evidence that the investigator couldn't really decide. Like, maybe there's enough here, maybe there isn't. I'm going to pass the buck off. That's your victory?
Yeah, no. Barr basically did a Pontius Pilate. He Tai cheated on the. That's the ruler who the crowd said, what are you gonna do with Jesus? And he was like, I don't know. I'll let them decide.
Oh, right.
And he pointed to a different group of people, and he was like, "It's crazy.
Wash my hands of you. I give them to you. They can do what they want."
Yeah, do what the fuck you want. Leave me out of it. But no, they Tai Chi'd that real quick.
Then in this case, Mueller would be the Pontius Pilate, right?
Well, Mueller turned it over to Barr, and now it goes from if Barr's turned it over, it goes to what the
No, he doesn't have to do anything with it at this point.
Oh, you're right. My bad. Sorry. You're absolutely right.
There's no statute that says that it has to be released or anything. He didn't even legally have to do a 4-page report summary. He could have just went, that report, yeah, it was nothing. I threw it in the garbage. Moving on.
Let's watch it with the Pontius Pilate reference because that makes Trump Jesus in this story. Yeah, guys.
Yeah, that's right.
The God Emperor Trump himself.
It's a very flawed analogy.
I'm just whatever.
His ears are perking up right now. What? Somewhere.
Yeah, he is in Michigan.
Someone's comparing us to Jesus.
Right.
He's got that $6 billion man here, and then
Yeah.
Find me that podcast. Bring me them hosts. But I do have
people
to say,
think I'm Jesus.
I'm glad, Aaron, that you're not in the people that need to have, like, America needs to have a serious intervention with about this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, here's the deal: Rachel Maddow, Bill Maher, various other celebrities. You got to stop fucking, especially Rachel Maddow, like almost breaking down in tears. Stop giving these pricks the satisfaction. This is what they want to see.
Really?
I know it sucks. No, yes, absolutely, that happened.
Wow.
And then Chris Matthews,
We're still here, everybody.
Well, here's the thing. I totally understand. You don't want him in office. You don't want him in office, but these fucks, his base, feed off of that bullshit. I swear to God, it's literally what it's been that I've seen. I'm just like, oh God, it just makes you look silly. Why are you literally choking back tears and snot?
Because you know what part of this is? We and Aaron were talking about this on the Weisman. You know, part of this really is, I think Todd even touched on it maybe a year ago. This is, oh my God, we can't have elected this guy. There has to be a flaw somewhere. We could not have, like when Stephen Colbert got indignant that, who was it that suggested, like, yeah, we put this guy in place. What was it, Comey? It's rooted in that. Like, we could not have possibly elected this guy. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, no, we've talked about it before on this show. This was, a lot of people looked at the results of the Mueller report as the escape hatch, as the Deus ex machina that would just sweep in and go, oh, but it was all a dream.
Well, thank God our system's fine. This guy just was being shady. Oh, thank God.
Yeah, we were all going to wake up back in our bed in Kansas.
Oh, I was going to say,
you were there, and you were there, and you were there.
Yeah. We're gonna wake up in our bed, go to use the bathroom, hear someone in the shower, pull back the shower curtain, and there's Obama showering. Like, hey, how's it going? It's like,
yeah. Oh.
Okay, so it was all a dream. Is that what we're doing here? Is this the Dallas ending?
Crazy orange nightmare.
Do the Scooby-Doo ending like Wayne's World. Just change it up to what we want. Like, I get it. I understand being upset. And Bill Maher really wasn't that bad. He was just like, I don't care what the report says. I have a TV. He's guilty. Okay, well, that makes you sound like you're in, whatever. But it's not even bulletin board material on some of the crap I've seen. Like, it's just, everybody calm down. Let's focus that disappointment and anger and energy to getting him out of office by getting him voted out at this point. Because that's clearly the most likely thing that could happen in the shortest amount of time at this point.
Yeah. Well, in reaction to this, as far as looking through Twitter, I've seen a little bit of the liberals going crazy and being frustrated and angry about this. I've seen way more of the conservatives and their fucking liberal tears memes.
Oh, God, yeah.
Gotta get it in when you can.
And
it's like they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And they hate the other team. They're just just rubbing it in.
Trump's going to Trump soon. You got to get in the celebrations while you can.
Right. But it's like if your team won the Super Bowl on a technicality.
There's going to be Trump swapping a chocolate bunny from a 3-year-old here soon. So they got to get in their victories while they can.
Well, and doesn't that really just speak to the pettiness and the mindset of...
It's about winning, baby. Just win, baby.
Exactly.
It's the new Al Davis society. Just win, baby.
Well, on top of that, though, outside of just the general people's reaction, on social media, the people on Fox News, people in Trump's cabinet, they are just as insane with this shit.
I find it odd they opened
talking about
cast with confetti. There was like balloons on Fox News Monday morning.
Really?
No, I'm just fucking.
See, you bought it. I would
plausible to you.
I would believe that they would be dancing.
Megyn Kelly and some streamers.
No, it's if it was one of those like Morning Joe talk shows or Fox and Friends, I could see them doing some cheesy shit like that.
Late celebration by Kool and the Gang.
Exactly. Doing the whitest 1-2 steps they could do.
Well, no, instead, I mean, after a 2-year investigation that they said was a total sham and a waste of taxpayer money, now that their president is quote unquote completely exonerated, they want to turn around and investigate Hillary.
Oh, for what?
They want to. They say all the representatives and senators that were involved in this, that like Adam Schiff, need to resign immediately. That Rachel Maddow needs to resign. That these people have no credibility because that none of the news organizations have any credibility now because they all reported on this investigation.
Of course, sure, whatever.
Right?
Fox nuts. Whatever you say.
I mean, was there bias out there against Trump? Abso-fucking-lutely there was. But you want you want CNN shut down because they reported on an actual investigation. They didn't make shit up and report on it.
It's just a new. See, this just proves it's both sides. Both sides will do this stupid tactic. Like it's what the other side does doesn't make you just as good or cool or whatever you are and think they are in your head.
It's not even that. They want revenge. And still, I mean, look, I don't see liberals saying that Fox News should be shut down. They just say it shouldn't be taken seriously, that it's not a real news organization.
Well, it's the my way or the highway tactic that everybody uses now. It is on both sides. It is in both camps. It is entrenched everywhere. It is fucking annoying. It is a waste of time.
But that's the thing. Who is it?
It doesn't accomplish anything for anybody except it's more of the we win. It's Elliot doing I told you so dance.
But who are the people doing it? They're not people that anyone's taking like dead serious, except for the people on the other side to do the same thing that are looking for those people. I mean, yeah, I've absolutely heard people who consider themselves very liberal, very far on the left, say shut Fox News down and fascist news network and all that. Okay, well, it's not going to happen, guys, and you know that. You're just running around basically spouting off a wish list of what you wish shit would happen.
Right, but those are kooks. So this is Kellyanne Conway, who is also a kook, but also works for the White House.
Well, I mean,
is saying this about news organizations.
Well,
right, that's what I'm saying.
I guess that tells you.
There's
I guess
kooks
it tells
on both
you that
sides,
for the
but the
most
kooks
part,
on the right are in power.
Yes, that tells you for the most part that the Democrats are intelligent enough not to let their kooks rise to the point of having that much power. They're like, shh, go put the drunk uncle away. We got company coming over. Put him in the back bedroom. I mean, look, man, I'm not fucking discounting one side and holding another side to a higher standard. It's of course Trump's got a bunch of kooks in there because Jesus Christ, it was like a firing squad there for the first year he was in office. How many people were coming and going? He was guilty of Goldilocks syndrome at that point. He wanted his porridge just right, his bed just right. So, hey, do you agree with me completely? Well, I mean, yes, but except for on this issue. Bye, you're gone. Send in another one. I mean, that's what he does. He stacks the deck around him with people like who are going to suck up to him, and he feels are loyal to him to a fault. So they're going to say stupid shit like this because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
It's all silly. The gloating is silly. The pro clutching is silly. We just move on with our lives. Like it's all. What does doing either one get us? Nothing.
Well, at least it gave like a 5, 6, 7 day reprieve from the constant meme attack on the notorious AOC and O'Rourke there. Like I see them slowly starting back up, but they definitely took the foot off the accelerator when it come to O'Rourke there. Like those went from dozens I see a day to none the next day once this report shit come out. So maybe that tells you the attention span of the people we're talking about. Because honestly, how many people are going to go online, share some shit that they know is just pissing off people, and wait for them to come in and start an argument with them?
Yeah, a lot.
Is there more than 100%? Can we have a margin of error of plus 50%?
I gotta say, for the most part, most of the people I know personally have started to just avoid that shit and be like, there's no point in even going back over this ground again and again and again. On both sides. Every once in a while someone posts something inflammatory they know is going to get someone worked up, but I mean, so maybe that's a good sign. Maybe people are like, you know what, this was fun for a while, but let's get down to some real shit here. I hope, but
Imagine the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet, all in one place. Go ahead. Dare to stream with Discovery Plus. 55,000 episodes from networks like TLC, HGTV, Food Network, and more. If you can dream it, you can stream it. See what I did there? Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net. Unregimented.
you know, then we get shit like Jussie Smollett or whatever how you pronounce his name. The charges get Jussie. It is Jussie, right? Jussie.
I've heard it.
Yeah.
I've heard that it's spelled Jussie, but it said Jesse.
Okay, the D is silent.
Yeah.
But, you know, and that turns into, oh, that's because he's friends with Michelle Obama. That's because he's friends with Oprah. That's because he's friends with so-and-so. And I'm just like, oh my God. If anyone read why they dropped him charges, he had to donate his $10,000 bail to some, I can't remember, like some charity. And he has to do a community service. And if he finishes, if he does those two things, nothing will ever be on his record.
No, it's credit for community service. He already did, like
he's already done the
deal.
service.
It was all structured around shit he already did.
Well, that's called a good lawyer. That's what that is.
I guess
that's a lawyer who said, yeah, he's already done a ton of work for, you know, charities and stuff. So
I guess it's just another example, though, of wealth privilege. Like if this was any of the three of us did this, we're going to court.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, what more do you want to see? There's plenty of horrible news stories about him. There's his reputation tarnished, money lost. He gave up his time. I mean,
saying if either three of us filed a false police report, we might do a few weekends in county. You know, I'm not saying we would do like continuous time. We might, you know.
Well, here's the way I look at it. He didn't file a report specifically naming individuals that attacked him, making a claim against an individual. It was just two guys in MAGA hats. That was it. So what is he really guilty of? Wasting the police's time and resources.
Yeah.
Make them pay restitution, move the fuck on. No victim, no crime. Now, if he'd have named someone specifically, like two people specifically, like here is their names, go arrest them, they are right there. Yeah, fuck that. Then he should do time because he was risking their freedom with his bullshit. Mm-hmm. But as of this point, all he did was really waste Chicago PD's pretty valuable time they could be putting towards other shit and resources.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, I agree with you that justice is definitely slanted towards those who have money, but that's across the board. And that's kind of a different subject. As this case stands, I don't see the need to go any further. I understand why they would drop the case.
I just officially wonder if the entire thing was a publicity stunt.
Probably was. I mean, think about it. Look at all the publicity he got. He ultimately paid what, $10,000? The
timing of things too. Like as soon as they I think it was like literally like the week they find out that he allegedly, not you have to say that now, orchestrated the whole thing. It was like the week before the series premiere of Empire. And now this is wrapping all up and like isn't the season finale in like 2 weeks?
I have no idea. I know nothing about this show.
All right, but so your tinfoil hat is telling you that the studio is in cahoots with the court?
No, I'm saying he's a dumbass who wanted to get more attention on him.
The publicity stunt, yes, like
on all of this.
Yeah, if it's like if you think Fox is in on it and shit like that, and I don't know, man, that's a little
tinfoil wrapped around my face. That's what I'm saying. I got a tinfoil mask on with this. Like, especially now since everything is dropped and it's no harm, no foul. Like now it's just like, okay.
But it's not. No, it's dropped because what else would be a reasonable punishment on top of taking money from him and having community service done? I mean, that's why it was dropped. I don't think that if he was like fighting this, that it would be dropped. He would end up in court over this.
Well, I feel this way. I do agree with Chris on this aspect. You know, the usual suspects come out and they go, "Oh yeah, white privilege my ass, huh? See, where's his white privilege? He got off, blah, 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 blah." And it's like, yeah, because why? What did we just say? He paid $10,000 and how much ever he paid out of pocket for the lawyers that were good enough to get him that deal. That, if there's any privilege here, it is wealth privilege. He was able to throw enough money at it to make it basically go away as smoothly as possible. We couldn't do that. 10,000 to one of us, we're not even making bail for 10 grand.
But also, okay, if it was one of us, think about what would happen, right? If I had some people beat me up and then I called the cops and they showed up and I told them some guys beat me up, what are they going to say to me?
That sucks. Here's your report number. Have a good night.
Right.
Probably, yeah.
It's never going to come to light that it was a fake report because they don't give enough of a shit. What are they going to do anyway? They're not going to do shit. They're not going to try and find these guys.
Because you're not on the TV.
Now, you know, the thing that does add the extra element to it that we can't just put the same scenario and overlay it on any person is the fact that this was portrayed as a hate crime.
Which honestly might even have given them just as much of a reason to start looking into it as, oh, he's a celebrity that's on TV. I mean, because if there was a hate crime committed and it turns out, you know, Chicago PD was like, yeah, that's nice. Here's your report number. Good luck with that. You know.
Well, yeah, him getting beaten up is like 30 seconds on TMZ. Him getting a rope put around his neck is a whole week.
This is MAGA country.
Yeah, him getting rope put around his neck by guys wearing a MAGA hat gets you 2 weeks.
And more. Probably would have went longer if it didn't fall apart so quickly. But yeah, I mean, I think I feel like justice was served. You know, justice doesn't always have to end in a sentence or somebody, you know, having something on their record or serving jail time.
Yeah, and like I said, to me, the main difference between this and if he should have done time is, like I said, he didn't name anyone specifically. He wasn't trying to get anyone specifically to go to jail. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, really, okay, two ghosts beat me up. I mean, that's what's he saying? Yeah. I mean, or you know, look, he either pulled a Edward Norton, or he paid two guys to rough him up just enough to where he looked roughed up, and then said, well, allegedly, obviously, and then, you know, went about this. What else could you get him on? There's nothing there. I mean, if they can't prove money exchange hands and they have no like way to prove like audio recording or something that he actually made a deal with these guys, besides they said that, and if they recant their story, what can the cops do? Because he's never wavered in the story.
He maintains innocence.
Yep. So
don't they have proof that he paid those brothers?
I don't know. I just know, to me, this feels like one of those issues that the people that are like outraged that justice wasn't served, I just want to sit down and go, stop and think about the facts of the case. What more do you want done to him? And if it's something crazy like he should do 10 years, okay, let me ask you a question. Why do you really feel he should do 10 years?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Get real with yourself. Let it be a rhetorical question. But go look in a fucking mirror and figure out what the fuck's going on in your head.
Because he was trying to make your side look bad. That's why they want him punished.
I said, you know, we do a few weekends in county. That's all I want. I'm not saying like, well, this guy should rather do 25 to life. Get the hell out of here.
All right. But I don't feel like if I file a false police report, I'm going to spend any time in county.
Yeah, and if lying to the police by itself was enough to get you arrested in this due time, everybody I know would have done time by the time they were 20. You're in the park at 10 o'clock at night, and you're not even supposed to be there after dark. Cop pulls up. What are you doing? Nothing. Knowing damn well you were just smoking a joint 15 minutes before. You got any drugs on you? No.
More.
Yeah, 15 minutes earlier, but a whole different conversation, officer.
Yeah, and I'd much rather see this than because yes, wealth and fame do give you certain privilege, and sometimes you can get away with shit, sometimes even crazy shit like Michael Jackson. But sometimes it rolls the other way, and you end up with inappropriate overreaction to something because somebody is famous or because somebody is seen as being on a certain side.
Well, I feel like the people that really are that are calling for blood and him to do years in prison, because he brought a racial element into it, they feel that makes it okay for them to bring their racial element into it.
Right.
And so it's easier for them to express shit that usually they got to wait until they get their cue to go, that it's okay to now bring up race. Because if they bring it up first, obviously someone's going to go, who brought up, no one's talking about race. You're talking about race. Racist. But since he opened that door, now they can say all this shit and they feel like, oh, that's not being racist at all. And it's like, really?
This is a stupid
But there's also, so Jussie Smollett is proof positive for the big MAGA theory, which is that racism against black people is dead. We've left that behind us. It no longer exists. We had a black president. We're all over it. And that racism against white people is alive and well, right? He had to manufacture a racist hate crime against himself, and he did so in a way that slandered white people.
As if he couldn't go walking through any part of some small town in Alabama announcing that he's a black gay man who hates Trump and not get assaulted.
Right.
It's like, well, the only way it was ever going to happen is if he went to Chicago and paid somebody. No matter, he'd have been safe anywhere else in the country. 100% bullshit. Come on, that's the other part. That's the other part of not being honest. These people not being honest with themselves.
You wouldn't even had to leave Illinois.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I do hate these fucking Illinois Nazis.
Head to South Illinois near the Kentucky border. See how much they like black people down there.
So, but that's the other thing that bothers me. It's dishonesty. It really is. That's what bothers me the most. And it just seems like obviously there's no talking to these type of people, but you just go, wow. Do you ever just sit around thinking of like, wow, I am batshit crazy? Like, are you aware of how fucked in the head you are? And I think the answer would sadly be, no, not really. It's everybody else, not me.
Well, speaking of court cases, this last week, there was a settlement on a Massachusetts lawsuit against Pharma Purdue, makers of OxyContin, and also the Purdue family. And
chicken people?
I don't know. I didn't do my research that far.
Wait, they're putting Oxy in the chicken? I got to go to Kroger's real quick.
And on the tail of that, now the New York Attorney General has announced that she is filing a lawsuit against Purdue and the Purdue family. Now, this is the Massachusetts settlement was for something. It was less than $500 million. I think it was less than $300 billion or $300 million, which is a lot of money, right? I mean, that's probably, though, I would guess a couple weeks profit, maybe a week profit off of the sale of OxyContin. So,
are we talking just the initial sale or the resale value as well?
Yeah, right.
Not that I've ever heard of anything like that happening. Anybody listening in, it's law enforcement.
The initial sale. I bet the sale they get the piece of.
Yeah, I bet you they'd love to get a piece of the back end on that too. Then they'd really be rolling in the money.
Wasn't that one of the conspiracy theories? Is that the companies would put out the drug, get people hooked, but then they'd also invest in privately owned and ran correctional systems, so they get them as they get hooked, and at the tail end, when they're hitting bottom and going to prison, they could profit off them both ways.
Right, it's the American dream.
Fuck you, coming and going, baby.
Yeah. So this is, one settlement. This is the most recent settlement. None of them have been really huge, but I imagine this shit adds up. I did read in one story that that Farmer Purdue was considering some sort of bankruptcy reorganization because of the number of lawsuits that they're undergoing. Who knows what that really means? That's probably just a way to report their losses so they don't have to pay taxes on them. I don't think that it really means that Farmer Purdue is going anywhere.
No, I don't think so either. And I think it's what it's going to ultimately do is get the more honest doctors a lot more gun shy about prescribing this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Possibly. I mean, we've seen this before with cigarette companies, right? But there's the different aspect here is that there is one main family that is helping to drive this, the Purdue family. And they were, part of that lawsuit settlement was to be paid directly by the Purdue family. It was like $75 million. And they're named as well in the New York suit. On top of that, there's been, well, they're very, like most rich families are, they're quite philanthropic and like to have their names on plaques and donate to operas and museums and all this shit. And a lot of those organizations are refusing their money or even giving it back to them. So, I don't know, maybe this is the way to actually make some effective change. Certainly, as much as Trump talked about fighting the opioid epidemic, he hasn't done jack shit about it. But then,
it made a national emergency, wasn't it?
Yeah, for whatever good that did.
Hey, national emergency now.
Well, not having a wall was a national emergency supposedly as well, so.
Whatever that means. It's a national emergency. Isn't Melania addressing it?
Right.
Wait a minute. Well, I thought her first lady token cause was to stop internet bullying. Wasn't that what she announced, like, after he was elected, that's what she's going to do?
Yeah, be best.
Yeah.
Be best, bro.
Well, like I said when I first heard it, if you want to stop a lot of it, unplug Trump's CPAP in the middle of the night. Good. Problem solved.
Get those Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. Change his Twitter password. I can't log in. What's going on here? Call Apple. Get Jim Apple on the phone. I need to get into my phone.
Tim Apple.
Tim Apple. Okay, that's Jim. See, I'm fairly close. I'm in the ballpark.
I'm sure he calls him Jim Apple now.
Tim Apple and Jim Google.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess we'll see what it does. I mean, ultimately, it's probably just going to make prices go up. They're not going to take a cut on their profit unless they absolutely have to. But I didn't realize.
But I mean, if prices go up, then use will go down. I'm not saying it's going to solve the opioid crisis, but
there's a generic, and they make it too.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. I didn't realize it's been around as much or as long as it has. I guess it passed the FDA approval stage and went on the market in '89. I don't remember really hearing about oxys a whole lot until probably late 90s.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, no one I knew needed to take them for the most part. So it was, this is some using shit like a street drug. But most of the 90s, it was like Vicodins was the big thing. So, if it drives the price up, they'll just find something else to take its spot.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Part of what's adding to the energy behind OxyContin and drugs like that is that they are marketed like this new wonder drug for pain. They were peddling this drug with a less than 1% addiction rate.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And that's the thing. I mean, if you were really holding these companies responsible, and we could go after them for shit going back decades for all the false reporting that they've done on their own product.
It's going to turn out, oh no, we mixed it up like 20 years ago.
That would involve
1% don't get addicted.
Right, yeah. We had that reversed.
Oh, God damn it. A new intern started that day. Our bad.
Oops. Oh, we forgot to carry the one. This decimal place should be over. No, one more. Yeah, there you go.
Well, I don't know if you guys have seen
100%.
This new propaganda that I'm seeing a lot, especially from people who I know didn't support legalization of marijuana here in Michigan. But I keep seeing these articles from various sketchy sources that these people are obviously taking as the word of God that You think marijuana is going to be a safe alternative to prescription drugs to relieve pain? Marijuana dealers are spraying their cannabis with fentanyl. You could die from smoking it. And I'm like, what is this obsession with people who don't dislike drugs to think that drug dealers want to kill their fucking own market?
Or give their shit away for free, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yes.
So you want fentanyl? That's an extra $50. All right.
And if I'm giving you $50 of liquid fentanyl, you really want to waste it spraying it on this shit?
Right. First of all, look, there's no drug dealer that was just like a born salesman, right? A huckster, a shark, someone if he had that drive, he would go work the legitimate system. The reason the drug dealer sells drugs is because his customers come to him. Drug dealer doesn't push shit.
Yeah.
People ask for it.
Yeah.
If they want fentanyl on their weed, they will ask for it. They don't need to be introduced to it.
Also, it is 2019. We are well aware and there's something other than weed in our weed. The weed is that good now. We can see it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. It's the same thing about the Halloween candy. Oh, they're putting drugs in the Halloween candy. No, they're not. They're doing them. They're doing them. They're staying the fuck away from the kids that are dressed up like scary monsters. They're staying inside and doing their acid. They're not giving it out to people walking by in masks.
Yeah, they're not giving your kid 100 milligram edible.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Yeah. That shit was $15.
Yeah.
They give it away.
Yeah, it's $15 and they don't sell them in bags with, 50 others.
Right.
Well, you did bring up
I'm individually wrapped.
You did bring up a very good point, and about like Chris Rock said, drug dealers aren't sitting in a house full of crack going, "How am I going to get rid of all this crack?"
It's not like you see, I saw an opportunity to sell crack in the ghetto. I just had to make it come true, right? First, I invested thousands of dollars in grassroots advertising, and I got my stock up. No, you fucking got a couple rocks. You sold a couple rocks. It kept going. And
Word of mouth.
Because you didn't have any other opportunities, or you're lazy, or whatever.
Yeah, it's the fear mongering that goes on.
Motherfuckers are going on Shark Tank. What do you got? Crack. It's
like,
back, baby. I'm in.
Call him a marketing consultant. All right, are we hitting the right zip codes with our advertisement?
Hey,
when did the direct mailers hit for the crack?
Excuse me, sir or madam. You may think that crack is just for black people. I'm here to tell you, this is not your daddy's crack.
And it's branded just like that. Not your daddy's root beer, not your daddy's crack. It's just like those.
You get a lot of stuff done on crack, man.
This is craft crack,
right?
Made by guys in flannels and beards. Here, take it.
Smell the beeswax.
Oh, Jesus Christ! But yeah, no, the fear mongering is amazing when it comes to the shit that I read when it comes to drugs. And I'm just thinking, half these people, I know they found, their family or friends. I know they found Jesus later in life, but I've done drugs with them. They know this is bullshit. No drug, like you said, no drug dealer gives you free shit. I mean, unless they're tripping hard and they're like, here, you want another hit for free? Sure.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you get to know them.
Yeah, exactly. Besides,
see, but they found Jesus. You found Jesus. You got to get cool with Jesus. He gives you an extra nug every once in a while.
All I'm saying is most of the people I've met who deal coke, they're not people I want to sit around and hang around with for 4 or 5 hours after I buy. Not that I've ever done that, but if I did, I would be like, "Thank you, later." It's not like you're going to sit down and be like, "You want a match?" It's not weed. I'm good on that.
And no one's matching with cocaine. Usually, generally, everyone brings their own cocaine.
Yeah, guys who want pussy, chicks who want free cocaine. That's who brings it and who they are trying to look for to consume it. Cocaine's called cheap way of talking your way out of her panties or into her panties.
Discovery Plus is the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Woohoo! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net. Unregimented.
Have you guys heard about this Cardi B story?
That she drugged men and stole their wallets?
Yeah, like under the guise of escorting or something.
Right.
Wasn't she a hooker? Isn't that hooking? I guess that was my general reaction to it.
A hooker's on the stroll, an escort you can call up and have ordered to your house like a pizza.
But she was doing that, right?
I think she was escorting.
Yeah.
She doesn't seem to be like the type that would have hung out on the corner of Michigan and Lanyo.
So I already knew that. So I wasn't really surprised that she would drug and mug men.
But I just think it's funny because it's like, people, can you believe she would do that?
Yeah.
Why? Yeah.
What? You're telling me a stripper was dishonest? Get out of here.
You mean when she said that
sex worker?
Yeah. When she said she really hoped to see me and maybe we could date off the clock, she didn't mean that shit? Really? No, I think it's the fact that she said, I didn't have a choice. I did what I have to do. So I think that's what rubs some people the wrong way. It's like kind of a, whatever. Everybody fucks up.
Rubs people the wrong way that are like, no, you should have sucked that dick.
Nothing America hates worse than child molesters. It's a dishonest hooker.
Yeah.
If you're going to give me drugs and you're going to take my money, God damn it, you better come over here and at least give me an old fashioned.
Damn right.
Something. I'm rubbing this against your thigh or something. There's going to be some contact here.
I'm parting with a Benjamin. Somebody's coming.
I thought it was funny because obviously here come the comparison started flying. Like, what if this was a guy? And I'm like, then he's probably gay. If he's drugging women, stealing their money, and he's not doing anything to them, he's probably gay. So that's what if it was a guy? I mean, we know what would happen if it was drug someone and assault them.
Well, yeah, guys mug people, yes, but they don't do it under the guise of being a gigolo.
Deuce Bigelow's
what movies are you watching?
Apparently.
What'd you say, Chris?
The Deuce Bigelow's falling on hard times, apparently.
He can't find any more huge bitches to take out on dates.
They're like, the sad thing it's actually just Rob Schneider.
It's not Deuce Bigelow. He's just dropped the pretense of even having a character. He's just like, I'll just fuck ugly and old women for money.
I mean, honestly, if I
don't look at my hairline,
because these are one time. She's not getting repeat business from these guys. Obviously, no. She's taking their money. She's drugging them, taking their money. So, if I was meeting somebody I didn't know, and I was going to pay for sex, and I ended up getting drugged and robbed, I would probably wake up and go, "Oh, thank God!
I still have my dick.
I still have everything." Yeah, she didn't cut them up.
She didn't Eileen Warnos me.
Yeah, I mean, was it right? No, but I would feel like, okay, if you're going to do that type of shit, that's going to happen.
You bring your whole paycheck with you to meet an escort, you're an idiot.
Wait. Yeah, this is pretty funny when you think about it. Boy, we ain't got no problem victim shaming these idiots. Like, hey, stupid, why'd you bring that much money in the first place?
Right.
What, you going to tip 500%? Big spender?
Yeah.
You know what the price was. You know what an appropriate tip is. Likely, if you're calling escorts, you've already worked your way up to it. So you've been through the strip clubs, the massage parlors.
At least Googled on what you should tip. We've crossed this bridge.
Well, hey, this ties in also to the Robert Kraft story, and you guys probably know a little more about this than I do, but were there actual charges filed against him, or was he just wrapped up in the investigation?
Oh, yeah. He's allegedly on tape getting an old-fashioned, speaking of which.
Right, but they charged him.
Yeah, I think it was for soliciting. It was misdemeanors.
Right. And then that was dropped. He had his apology, and the charges were dropped, correct?
No, he didn't take the deal. He told him to fuck off. Which I was glad he did.
Oh, really? He's going to fight it?
Yeah, he's not taking that deal.
I thought that he apologized for it.
I was about to say, how does he apologize in public and go
Yeah,
to
that whole
court
thing
and
where
fight
he's
it?
got to apologize and like take a STD test and all that and do community service. So no, he said no. He's fighting it.
Damn.
He's got F him. He's got FU money. He's got Bob Kraft. Eat a dick.
TMZ is reporting as of 7 hours ago today, Robert Kraft claims massage video illegally obtained in bogus Spygate. Yeah, I guess
you see what he did there?
Full on.
See what he did there, Chris?
Oh, I do see what he did. Oh,
Spygate. He had to. Yeah, he's. You know what? We should have had an over/under on how long he connects it to the Patriots, all in some general way, because he's
being targeted.
Yeah, he's like, oh, this is because I'm the owner of the Patriots and you guys hate me. No, it's because you're a 70-year-old man getting a tug job in some fucking chick in Florida, dude. That's why it happened.
But he should. He's not married. His wife died of cancer. He's a billionaire.
Yeah, he's like 77. How much longer does he have?
I don't know what the hell I was looking at. I swear that he had apologized and that was going to be the end of it. But
last week he was offered this crazy plea deal where he had to apologize and take an STD test and do some community service and all this crazy shit. And he just fuck you and Bob Kraft. No.
Or he just looked at his lawyer.
He responded how I hoped he would. He said, fuck your stupid deal.
He probably called his lawyers and said, you guys want to make some money and hold this up in court till I drop dead?
Yeah, he probably called someone and said, I'm never walking into a courtroom for this.
Which, look, man, when we talked about it on Sporgy, I mean, it seemed to me at one point it was like, isn't this kind of like one of those things that should be legal and regulated and there's, checks and balances to make sure that everybody involved is doing it as safely as possible. And now that seems like it, because what they started focusing on was oh no, these are people who've been sex trafficked in here.
It's not his fault. It said on Sporgy, that's not his fault.
And it's like, is it really true, or is this what you're assuming because this is what we now say about sex workers? This is against their will.
He didn't authorize the sex trafficking. He is just, we said, he's not pro sex trafficking, he's pro hand job.
I mean, I can get behind him on that. I should have rephrased that better.
Yeah.
I can stand and wave at him from across the parking lot with that.
But he's taking the Donna Brazil defense. I remember when she got outed she gave the questions for the Democratic debate to Hillary and not to, before the debate and not to Bernie's side. And then that fact came out that there were emails that were hacked and released that showed that she was basically trying to sway the election to Hillary's side. And her defense of it was those emails were hacked, right? He's saying that this footage was illegally obtained. Okay, but
it doesn't change it, Bob.
Right. It still shows you on video committing a crime. Now, I don't think that it should be a crime. If we're just talking, sex, hand jobs, blow jobs, full-on penetration, whatever, none of that should be illegal, but it is. So you can't. That's not really a defense.
No, that's called defense attorneying. If this was obtained illegally and they can prove it, or at least get a judge to agree with them, and it gets thrown out, there goes the
case,
the foundation of their case.
Right. You could win on a technicality instead of actually being right.
And see, this is, dear listeners, take a note on this. This is what people who are rich and powerful do. They don't give a fuck how they win as long as they win. It could be a technicality. He's not like, I'm going to get exonerated. He's just like, no, that video of me getting jerked off. No, you didn't have the right warrants for it.
Yeah, he's not saying he didn't get the hand job.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the one thing. Like I said, I kept hearing, it's not the hand job. It's because the sex workers there were, forced into it.
So what?
Well, that's why they were investigating in the first place. Yeah.
He didn't know. You think you search his cell phone, you search his search history, think he's looking for, specific, like, or they have to be specifically sex trafficked or I just can't come. No.
Right.
He's got enough money.
He got word that if you go to this one Jupiter, you get a handy.
He's getting jerked off going, tell me about the crate you came over here in.
Yeah, I want to hear about
How small and dark was it?
you're in. Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah, I mean, he's got enough money. If he really wanted to get that far out with it, he could just buy a bunch of land in Thailand and open up a Neverland ranch for himself out there. You know, and do whatever the fuck he wants.
He could buy a small Asian nation if he really wanted to. He has a gross domestic product higher than some of them.
Right. But, you know, just like the Trump story, we talk, not we as in the three of us, but collectively as a country, are way more interested in talking about Robert Kraft than we are talking about prostitution or human trafficking. And, you know, just like the Trump story, we get the Mueller report, we're way more interested in arguing over whether Trump is innocent or guilty and not what this says about how easy it is for Russia to influence us.
Yeah. Hey, let's not address the problem in the room that we're a big collection of dummies. Let's focus on who won. Maybe focus on not being a big collection of dummies.
Yeah. I mean, we like to have contentious conversations with each other in this country. We just don't want to have deep conversations that might be uncomfortable.
I wish that we could have a conversation about how, while Robert Kraft committed a crime, if it wasn't illegal, then the person that was in charge of jacking him off wouldn't have been trafficked.
Yes.
Right? They would have.
Her livelihood.
They might have even had health care.
Do you got more than 50 jerkers working for you? Then you got to provide them with health care.
Yeah.
So she developed carpal tunnel. She'd get workers' comp.
Either that, or you could have your staff by hiring skiers.
There you go.
I'm just saying, if I'm working at the social services office, and someone comes in and hands me that and says carpal tunnel. Okay, so how you're filing that for disability? Why? I used to manually offer hand release to rich old white men in massage parlors. You had the balls to put that down here? Boom, approved. Have a nice one. Enjoy your check. Like, you've earned it, sweetheart. Especially because, you know, some of those guys, they got to be slapping that motherfucker against their leg while he's just flaccid, going, come on, old man. Come on, old man. We got to hurry this up. You got a whole waiting room of people.
Yeah, come on. I book in quarter hours, buddy. Let's go.
I mean, unless these people have extreme confidence in their skills, you can't just have a flat charge for that, right?
I don't know. You want to make money, it's all about transactions, right? You do deal in volume.
They make it up in volume, and they pass the savings on to you.
Oh, I'm just picturing a bunch of guys lined up in a room, and she goes from one, just like Perels her hands, rubs them together, goes to the next guy. It's just like a production line.
It's like what Aaron said. You hire, women who are familiar with skiing. So,
two at once, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but on a serious note,
guys now you book in 15-minute increments.
The idea that, people are people are upset that these women are being trafficked, but they don't want to deal with the answer. And the answer is take away the industry that is operating in the black market and giving $1 incentive for people to traffic these women.
Oh,
that it stops.
Again, Trump.
What do you think? You think
in the force?
The people who own these massage parlors are going to go, well, they made prostitution legal, so now what am I going to do with all these illegally trafficked Asian women? I guess I got to start making iPhones in the U.S. Like, they're not. It's not like they're already trafficking in Asian women, and they're like just stumbled upon it one day. Oh, turns out they're great with hand jobs. Finally, I can unload all these Asian women that I've got stockpiled. They're brought in for a specific purpose to fill a specific need. And just like marijuana, if you want to take the crime out of marijuana, then you make it legal. You want to take the crime out of prostitution, you make it legal.
Yeah, but the moral people, the religious people, the people who think like any sex worker is, no matter what, even if they are not forced into it, that no, you're being forced into it. Lump all those people together, that's a whole lot of voices shouting you down. That's the problem.
All the billboards are porn, cigarettes, Jesus, and fireworks.
Certainly, there's not a lot of girls who have their eyes set on being a prostitute when they grow up, but there's millions of people who don't dream of working at a fast food restaurant, but they do.
Well,
and they make it.
When I had a satellite radio there for that year, after I bought my car, when I first bought it, I listened to a lot of Howard Stern, and I gotta say, unless this is just the new thing for young porn stars who get into the business to say, a lot of them were like, back in the day it was, how'd you get into porn? Well, I started dancing. Somebody saw me dance and said, would you model? And they said, are you willing to do, shoots with other women or men? And would you be willing to basically fuck on film? No, a lot of these porn stars come in and he's like, so how did you become a porn star? Oh, I've wanted to be one ever since I saw my first porn when I was 12 years old on the internet. And I'm like, that's a destination for you?
Well, Rich, they're selling something on his show. They're selling themselves and their porn.
Well,
they're not going to go on there
it's...
and say, my uncle diddled me when I was 9, and that's why I'm riding a pole now, because that's not a nice, fun story about
Is it wrong to say that if they did go on there and say that, their hits would probably double on Pornhub overnight? Because the sick fucks that are out there.
Yeah.
Be like, does she do babysitter porn? Like, oh, dude, come on, man. Really? You got to lean into it that much? Jesus. Well, no, that's why I said, unless it's just the new thing that they're like, look, don't even go out there and say about dancing and you got into it through that. Just go out there and say, act like Henry Hill, but instead of when I always knew when I grew up I wanted to be a gangster, just say I always knew when I grew up I wanted to get fucking airtighted by 3 motherfuckers and come a cum dragon.
Right. You're cultivating a personality that is obsessed with sex. That's what you're selling. You're so obsessed with sex, you fuck tons of guys in all different positions. So that's your story. I mean, getting kind of dragged into it goes counter to that. I love what I do.
Yeah, but I do gotta say, man, over the years, there's not a lot of them, but there's some porn stars that I remember I thought were old when I was first seeing porn back on VHS that are still in the business. And I'm like, maybe these people really do love sex. Because
no, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I'm not saying at all that there aren't those people.
No, what I'm saying is those people maybe need to reassess shit once their age starts with a 6. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, Nina Hartley, sorry, honey. The odometer has rolled over 4 or 5 times on your patch. It's time to retire. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the type of shit I'm saying. I'm not saying that, oh, look, I found one example. I'm just saying that, oof.
No, I hear you.
But be a ceiling on that age for that.
But I think the point should be made that those people do exist, and it is such a thing. It's not the case where everyone that gets involved in sex industry in any way is survived some sort of abuse. I mean, I think unfortunately it's
but I mean, if there's anything that we've really learned in the last 20, 30
years, that's not necessarily negative either, Isn't that the idea of kind of reclaiming your sexuality? It doesn't have to be a negative thing.
No, absolutely not. But what I was going to say is, isn't it because it's more open to talk about sexual abuse growing up that what's more likely is that a lot more kids are sexually abused than we thought before, because it just wasn't something that you brought up in polite society. And it just so happens that, some go on to become strippers, some go on to become lawyers, some go on to become whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's, as sad as that is, I think that's probably more likely what's going on. Because, I mean, I've been around that culture, firsthand, and get around a bunch of women who don't want to fuck you and have stopped looking at you as a possible paycheck or a sexual object, and the truth will fly. Like, believe me, because at that point you might as well be a Ken doll to them. You are a eunuch. And I've heard some very frank discussions, and if they were molested, they usually have no problem admitting it, and if they weren't, they have no problem admitting it. There's very few times it was some sort of cinematic breakdown where some chick tells her other stripper friend what her uncle did to her one dark night. So I think this all goes back to our puritanical view of sex and just basically how we still treat it in this country. I mean, it's a cliche, but it's true. You go to other countries, it's the violence in our culture that makes them go, "What the fuck?" It's not the sex. They're not like, you Americans, you some crazy shit. You know, what's going on here? No, it's all the violence and shit that happens in our culture that we look at as entertainment. So, I mean, what do you do about that? There's not much to be done. I mean,
I think it's the disproportionate way that Americans react to sex or violence, because it's not like, you know, Europeans just aren't shocked by sex, and they are shocked by violence. You know, I think they have the same kind of tolerance for it. There's a certain, you know, wagging some tits around is like, whatever, that's page 3. And a little bit of violence on television isn't going to kill anyone. But yet there are lines. You know, there's things that they will not broadcast. They're not going to show faces of death, and they're not going to show a porno. But then in America, you know, if we have to get multiple people's approval to show side boob on television, but people are being gunned down left and right.
oh hell yeah.
So we're more sensitized on the sex issue. I don't know why. I mean, well, I know why. It's religion, but
Yes.
I don't know if that's worth going down.
Jeebus. And all that noise.
Yeah, be fruitful and multiply. Just don't think about it too much. Wait, what? Huh? Okay.
Well, it's religion feeding into people's already innate self-righteousness. That them abstaining from certain things makes them better than you, and their religion helps prove that for them.
I mean, I know all this, but I'm just sitting here thinking, you.
This sounds like an incel movement, really.
If you,
Right?
it almost sounds like, you know,
Christianity is an original incel movement.
the Catholic Church.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, no, because you have to take a vow of celibacy, but I don't know.
Only if you want to be on the inner circle.
Well, there's apparently there's still parts of Catholicism that still preach that sex is only for procreation, and I'm like,
if you're playing in God mode.
Yeah, no cheat codes allowed. Like shit, so I got to put the 10-year-old boy back. Fuck. All right. Fuck. God damn it. I'll put him in my stash. Hold on. Shit. But no, man. I mean, think about it. 'Cause the people that seems like they get caught up in this shit are the people we hear about going to airport stalls, sticking their dick in a glory hole to see what happens to it. You know, it's like.
I've never understood that.
Wait, what's happening to him?
You know, whatever. Looking for, like, they end up doing devious shit. Not necessarily like.
But no, I'm sorry. Let's clarify who we're talking about. Are we talking about victims of abuse?
No. I'm talking about people that
just
are, like, grow
people
up.
Are naturally deviant, or they were
people who grow up in like seriously sexually repressive environments.
Oh, okay. I got you.
You know, it's going to come out one way or the other.
This guy at the orgy. That's what he's saying.
Yeah. You end up being the weird guy at the orgy. What's that tell you?
You're told no the first half of your life, so as soon as you realize what your dick is for, it's on. Trust me, as someone who's born and raised in Catholicism, I'm familiar with the type. Well, no, because you see it too with women, and you see it the other way with women. They discover what their vagina is for, and what you think there's a stereotype about Catholic girls for a reason? For no reason, I should say.
I don't know. As it stands right now, I have no, and then she unzipped her jumper stories. So I don't know. You went to Catholic school, not me.
No, because it's usually like she blew me in the parking lot before class is how that story starts.
Oh, so Catholic hoes are just like regular hoes.
Yeah, well, it's just, they're
Just a little bit of extra shame thrown in there.
Well, and they start earlier because you're told no. Like I said, the first 15 years of your life. As soon as you realize what that thing is for, it's fucking on. Oh, shit. You can do this with it? Oh, I'm going to do this a lot.
Oh, shit. Well, I don't know. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
If you're looking for COVID-19 testing, look into Quest, the lab that's processed over 25 million tests and counting. You can get the same test hospitals use without a doctor visit. Simply order online, select from drive-through or at-home options, and get results sent securely to your phone or computer. It's experience and accuracy you can trust from Quest, the largest medical testing lab in the country. So order today at questcovid19.com. That's questcovid19.com.
Regimented. ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net. Unregimented.
We can talk about the controversy over whether Batman kills or not. Have you followed any of this?
No. In fact, when you brought it up post or pre-show is the first time I've heard of it.
Well, Zack Snyder was, you know what? I want to see, here it is. I want to find the exact quote on this. Someone says to me, Batman's killed a guy, Snyder said during a Q&A after a Watchmen screening event. I'm like, fuck, really? Wake the fuck up. Once you've lost your virginity to this fucking movie, and then you come out and say to me something about like my superhero wouldn't do that. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like down the fucking road on that.
Not my Batman.
He goes on to say, it's a cool point of view to be like, my heroes are still innocent. My heroes didn't fucking lie to America. My heroes didn't embezzle money from their corporations. My heroes didn't commit any atrocities. That's cool. But you're living in a fucking dream world. All right. So.
Damn, I never thought about it. Bruce Wayne does kind of embezzle from his own company for his Batman equipment. I never looked at it that way.
Is Bruce Wayne going to be in the shower with Barack when we wake up from the dream?
Which version? I'd like to think the Michael Keaton version would be standing in there with him. Like, but why are you done up like Beetlejuice, Michael?
Well, yeah.
Okay, didn't he? I didn't watch all of the Justice or Superman versus Batman movie. I tried to, and I'm like, oh boy, this is
kind of drags, yeah.
And then what's his face from Zombieland, the kid who played Lex Luthor. Yeah. He was insufferable in that. I was like, I can't.
Yeah, I love him, but you're absolutely right. He so irritating.
But I mean, I swore that from what I remember in previews and shit, like Batman was carrying fucking machine guns in that movie.
Not a machine gun. Well, he had a gun. I don't even remember.
Because I remember it was like a militia. With him and like a militia were fighting or something, and then they capture Superman and. No, Superman captures him. Is that it? I can't even remember. This is here, Zack Snyder. You know what you do? Make a fucking Batman movie we want to see these days. Just go ahead and do that.
The big scene that featured Batman with the gun was I don't know if it was supposed to be a dream or a vision that he got from Darkseid, but he saw all the parademons coming down from the sky.
Oh, that might be okay. That might have been it.
I don't know, but he definitely uses a gun. In the Zack Snyder, the Zack Snyder version of Batman does so. And I don't know. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous at its core and to argue because first of all, this is a fictional character, right? And we've seen many takes on this character. But if we're going to talk about the core of this character, I think guns are alien to him.
Well, the whole thing the way it was always pitched to me was because his parents were killed with guns. That's why he vowed to never use them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, whatever. I can get with that. But I mean, also, they've changed shit around so much in comic book movies. I don't even really get upset when I hear about some crazy change. Like, we're going to have Batman killing people just flat out in the next movie. Okay.
Well, I remember when the Michael Keaton one came out, the big to-do was Batman killed somebody.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do that. I remember even then, I was like 10. Even the nerds, even then it filtered that this is a big deal. Batman doesn't kill people.
Right. Take it up to Man of Steel, and Superman broke Zod's neck in that movie, and people were like, "Superman doesn't kill." Well, this version does. This isn't the Richard Donner version, nor is it the 2006 emo version sitting outside Lois's window pining away for her. This is a completely different version of this character. And at this point, like, I understand comic book nerds are sometimes they stick to tradition a little too much, but at this point, if you're a comic book guy, you should have gotten pretty used to they're going to fuck with shit.
Yeah, but I mean, just fuck with somebody else, right? Superman and Batman are heroes that have lasted for decades, and part of that is because they are always, going that extra mile to find the solution that doesn't involve killing people. That is kind of part of what makes them as characters. It's like if you wanted to say, oh, we're going to do a Judge Dredd reboot, but he doesn't carry a gun, he doesn't shoot anyone, and he just wants to sit down and hash it out.
And he takes his helmet off through the entire movie. Oh wait, we already had that.
Right.
For Judge
He walks
Dredd.
around with his helmet off, going, "I mostly do divorce cases these days." I mean, if you want to do a parody on that character, sure, but you don't do that with Judge Dredd. There's no point in doing that with Judge, because that's not the character. I mean, there's enough, like, you can overlay lots of different things on all these characters because they're just loose structures, but that is one of the main beams of those structures of both Batman and Superman.
I guess to me, if
kind of ironic.
If the movies were actually better in quality than they were, it would bother me more.
Better argument.
But it's just like I'm like I said, I'm just waiting for them to make a good new movie with one of these characters in it.
Right.
So that's why I'm almost like, I don't really.
Right.
It's like no one.
It's kind of like watching Batman 67 going, there wouldn't be actual balloons that said "Pow."
There's no such thing as bat shark repellent.
Right. the movies are so clownish as they are that's like, is this really worth picking apart?
Well, yeah. When people sat down to watch the new it's not new now; it's actually canceled now. But when The Punisher come out on Netflix, when people sat down to watch it, I'm sure a lot of those people were well aware of the 1990 Dolph Lundgren abortion and were just like, somehow I'm going to be able to watch this new one. It hasn't ruined it for me. That's how I kind of feel about it. That's why I'm like, I really don't care what he says. Now, if he makes a good movie, and it has, because from what I understand, Affleck's pretty much done. He's not coming back as Batman.
Yeah.
So if they cast a new Bruce Wayne / Batman, he puts out a good movie, and one of his major themes is Batman has to kill somebody at some point. I mean, it's taken the character down a different road than most people are used to, but it might actually get a good story out of it.
Well, that's a good point, because these characters have evolved over decades, right? And they've done so through the hard work of talented writers. So Batman didn't start out not killing. In the 40s, Batman would kill criminals.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he probably had a gun too, but he also slept in the same bed with Robin and drove around like a regular looking car.
Yeah, but Aaron, sharing a bed with a child's the most loving thing you can do.
Jamming in the bed, Dick Grayson.
And as much as we still inappropriately so give credit to the creators of these characters,
Milk cookies.
They just kind of solidified the look and basic concept for something that many, many artists after them filled in and made into full characters that were three-dimensional, and so at a certain point it was just understood with Batman that I don't know who was credited as first doing this, but when somebody wrote a story where Batman decided that no, I'm not going to kill, no, I'm not going to pick up that gun, and here's my reasons why, that clicked with everyone, and they went, oh yeah, that's Batman. Right? And that was a change. Superman has even more extreme versions of this going on throughout his history. That classic cover of Superman holding up the car on the cover of Action Comics, his first appearance, that was like his only shtick at the time.
Yeah, when they first created him, he didn't even fly, did he? He just leaped.
He didn't.
He literally leaped over buildings.
Right. So all of this, like, kryptonite stuff and the X-ray vision and laser eyes and can blow really hard and super cool breath, and all of this shit was added as needed, right? It was, well, I need he's got to have some cool power to make this story work. So here it is, right? Some of that stuff, if it was just used as a gimmick, it rarely sticks. Another writer's not going to pick that up and run with it. But if it feels right, then others, the fans are going to react to it. The writers that come after that person are going to continue that story. So if Zack Snyder gave us a version of Batman that we hadn't seen before but made sense, I think we would accept it. And we would go, yeah, okay, I can see that there's times where this man feels like he has to kill, but he just hasn't. That's the problem. And the idea that, he goes on this rant of like, fans they don't know who this character is, and I know, and they need to grow up, and I'm showing them what their heroes would be like in real life. Well, guess what? That's why we have superheroes. Because there is real life. They don't need to cross over.
Well, also, it is Zack Snyder. And the one thing I don't think anyone ever really has accused Zack Snyder of being is humble or not bombastic with his nonsense.
Right.
He strikes me as a type of gentleman who thinks very highly of himself. Like, looks in the mirror and is like, damn, it's hard work being this pretty. And then just goes on about his day. So, of course, the way he come off, it was kind of, when you're reading it, I was like, it's kind of a dickish way to put that shit. Then I realized, wait a minute, we're talking about Zack Snyder.
Sure.
He seems like a bro who just so happens to direct these type of movies,
Zack Snyder seems like a layover of the late 90s, early 2000 comic artists like Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane, these superstar guys that had, that's what they did. They came in with these big attitudes and these big, overly muscled characters, and they're like, this is Captain America. This is Spider-Man. You guys don't know. And, while that didn't work for me, that worked really well for a lot of people. That sold a shit ton of comic books. Now, I don't think anything that happened during that period was revolutionary to any of those characters. Didn't redefine them in any way, but...
Wait, you didn't like when Superman had a mullet and an all-black suit? I said that to a buddy of mine. He's like, when did he have the mullet? In the 80s? I'm like, no. Well past the time he should have in the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, he was
going into late 90s, and he's fucking rocking like the jacket over the spandex.
He's got a Riggs haircut from Lethal Weapon and shit. It's like, the fuck are they doing to Superman, man? But once again, see, but that's the thing. Like, even though I wasn't really into reading and collecting at that point in time, I was aware of what was going on because I had friends that still did.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, okay. I learned to accept that sometimes in these writing rooms for Marvel and DC, I'm wondering if they just throw shit at a wall and see what sticks and goes, let's go with that for like, I don't know, a 12-issue arc. We can always retcon it in the next crisis, Mm-hmm. We can always hit the reset button. That's what Secret Wars is for. I did want to ask you because I saw your book out in the living room, and I've never really read this comic. I've only seen the movies. Have you seen the previews for the new Hellboy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, sounds like you're into it then.
I am into it. I mean, I love David Harbour. I've always loved him. Ron Perlman's version was okay, but it's a little too soft. And I don't know, it's weird. Well, Hellboy is this kind of weird character. Like, he's like a demon, right, with a weapon of Armageddon strapped to his hand, and he's a teddy bear. But he's not this like lovelorn type of pathetic creature that Ron Perlman was portraying.
Well, see, I said, I never read the book, so that's the only point of reference I have for that character.
Him thinking that that Liz Sherman was attractive and that he would like to, date her or be with her or something is, I think, totally reasonable. But this idea that he was going to be heartbroken over her and he's going to stalk her, didn't really make sense for me. And Hellboy's a little bit different. You know, we're talking about Batman and Superman. These are characters that like thousands of people have put work into. Hellboy has been one continuous series that's all been Mike Mignola. I mean, he either directly writes the stories or he writes the outlines. But Hellboy doesn't do anything that Mike Mignola doesn't want him to do. So he's crafted a very specific character that walks right down that line. And it's not an easy thing to hit on film. I think that this David Harbour version looks like it's going to be closer to that. I mean, at least I hope so. I don't know. The odd thing is that they lean so heavily on the early previews on the humor aspect. And that's always been a part of the Hellboy stories. Not a huge part, but you know, you've got a demon with his horn sawed off hitting people with a mechanical arm chomping on a cigar, and every once in a while spits out a halfway witty one-liner. You know, yeah, there's a little bit of humor in that. You can't take that completely seriously. So I don't know. It's a really hard mark to hit, and I don't even know completely. I think, honestly, if we were ever see the version of Hellboy that I know from the comics, they could do it through animation. I don't know if we would ever be able to hit that mark perfectly on a movie.
See,
I'm looking forward to it.
That's how I felt about the Spawn animated series on HBO versus the actual live action movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I saw the live action
difference.
movie, I was like, ugh, this feels like Spawn for little teenage kids.
Right.
You know, I mean, I think John Leguizamo did an alright job, and I think, oh shit, I can't remember his name.
Michael J. White?
Yes, thank you. I think he did, you know, a decent job given what he was given to work with as Spawn.
Yeah.
But David Keith, just his voice in that HBO series, it's like, that's what Spawn sounds like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just, it was perfect. The tone was perfect. They could go into some of the way more adult themes than they were ever going to go to if that series would have continued. I mean, now they're saying that they're trying to reboot it and they're going to focus it on the two cops at Twitch or was Twitch a reporter?
I think, well, they're looking at a reboot that basically doesn't put you in first person viewpoint in the Spawn character.
Okay.
So the Spawn will be the monster, and you'll see the movie through other people's eyes. So it's really the only way that you can bring back this kind of horror element to it, right? Because you can't really have a Jason movie that's from the perspective of Jason, right? That doesn't really work. You have to see it from the perspective of the victims.
Yeah, unless you're going to do like there is a horror movie where they have a fictional slasher, and a documentary team follows him around as he plans his yearly massacre, and if they, you know, but that's like Jason
like,
isn't set up
Down
that
by
way.
Law.
Yeah, or Man Bites Dog.
Yeah.
The camera crew following the criminals, and eventually the criminals like.
Oh, is that the movie I'm thinking of?
Well, no, the movie maybe yeah, where they follow the hitman.
Yeah,
and I think it's in black and white.
I've seen both, and I think I'm getting confused now.
Well, the one I'm talking about was called Behind the Mask: The Rise of I think the guy who was the serial killer or the slasher that they were following. I think his name was like Leslie Vernon or something. And it had a real unique take on it because there was a retired serial killer who he went to for advice. And like one scene, they're sitting in the kitchen and they're chopping up the vegetables and they're just like, and they just go through carrots like it's nothing because they're so good with knives and shit. I mean, it's a unique way to do the movie, but.
Yeah, I had said I was mistaken. Man Bites Dog was the movie I was thinking of, and I said Down by Law for some reason, which is a totally different movie.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it's going to have to be one of those things I see it and then make a judgment call on because
It's got a good cast. I think it's got a stronger cast than the previous Hellboy movies. And the last preview that I saw, we got to see more of less of the snark and a little bit more of the action. And I think it's going to pay off. I think it's going to be a really enjoyable film. I don't mean to slag it like, oh, nobody's going to be able to make the perfect Hellboy. I don't need to see necessarily the perfect Hellboy. As long as I get a believable version, right? Just like Batman on the screen, like you can change it, just make it work.
Yeah.
And not because you need your movie to work, but because it works for the character.
Well, and when does that one come out?
I can't even keep track now. There's so much shit coming out in the next few months, but
well,
it's coming up. Yeah.
The reason I ask is because I'm wondering if it's going to be one of those movies that gets buried underneath the rest of the superhero movies coming out.
No, I think it's going to find its niche. I don't think it's going to do. I don't think it's going to be huge, but I'm imagining it's going to do something like Jordan Peele's last movie did. It's not going to break 100 million on its opening weekend, but it's going to make money and probably enough for them to do a sequel.
Well, that's funny you should bring him up because his new movie came out, and it's another horror movie, and I've seen people in reviews going, oh, he's the new master of horror, and I'm like, he's done 2 movies, guys. Let's calm down. He's not exactly Hitchcock yet. Give him, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not even Cronenberg or John Carpenter. Let him get a body of work here going. He only has 2 movies. I mean, he is doing the new Twilight Zone series. He's going to executive produce that, which I think is going to be interesting.
I'm looking forward to it.
There was a little bit of controversy around him while he was doing press for this movie, his new movie, Us. Apparently they asked, so you have an all-black family as the lead family, and he goes, well, yeah, I'm a black guy. I'm writing from my perspective. At this point, I can't really see writing, a white guy as the lead in any of the movies I do. And of course, the usual suspects. Oh, and it's like, did you listen to what he said? At this point, he can't see himself doing it at this point.
Well, he said that he's seen those movies, right? He wants to make something he hasn't seen before. He's seen all these movies with white leads. Like, why go there?
Yeah. I mean, how many, it took, what, over 15 years for Spike Lee to make a movie that wasn't, that the lead character wasn't black, and I think it was 25th Hour. I mean, so what? Who cares? Quentin Tarantino. For a while, I never thought we'd see a Quentin Tarantino movie that didn't have a bunch of gangsters in it. I thought that was going to be his thing. He's going to be the guy who puts out Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, and it's just going to always be gangster movies. Give him a chance to change it up. But at the same time, slow down with he's the new king of horror. Like move over Lovecraft and Poe. Here comes Jordan Peele. It's like... It's like, it's like the people that said Broken Lizard, the guys who did Super Troopers, were like, oh, they're the new Monty Python. I'm like, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
One movie. Granted, I love that movie, but they're not Monty Python off of one movie. Come on.
You know why, though? We have been sorely deficient for like 2 decades now on really good comedies and horror movies. There have been good comedies and horror movies that have come out, but they are few and far between. So it doesn't really take a deep body of work to be hailed as the new genius. You just got to get something that actually puts the asses in the seats.
Comedy had a good run there in the early 2000s with your old schools and your Wedding Crashers.
Yeah, but once again, it almost was like that there was a
crew
of guys that all worked together.
Torture porn.
Yeah. I was gonna say Eli Roth and the Saw guys. Like that was just like, who can make the most disgusting kills? Let's put them out.
Also forgot about your Judd Apatow's back when he was interested in being funny.
But no, oh shit, the tip of my tongue. If I remember, I'll bring it back up. Sorry. What were you saying? What was the last thing you were saying, Aaron? Before? Oh, that we've had kind of a dry spell here.
Yeah. Well, it also people talk about like, all these superhero movies and they're taking over and eventually this fad will go away. I don't see it that way. I see it more as like there's going to be so many movies made that we will hopefully get to the point where we don't have these fads of like, oh, sci-fi movies are really popular now. Oh, now these fantasy movies are getting attention. Oh, people are liking horror movies again. We should just be doing these all the time. There should be a steady stream of movies coming out in every genre.
Well, I also think it's going to end up
superheroes being among them.
I mean, from the late 70s to early 90s, most war movies that were put out were about Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, that was like, especially the 80s for a while there, it was like, seems like there was one out every summer.
Yeah.
Hamburger Hill, Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, whatever. And that like ran its course. We still have war movies. It's just not that war necessarily. Now we're starting to make,
right.
war movies about the Iraq War and the war in Afghanistan. So,
and we still get occasional.
Sorry. No, I was going to say comic book superheroes have been here through all of that. It's just most of the time the movies were really shit and garbage, like the 1990
right.
Captain America and Fantastic Four that Roger Corman made. And
are we not going to bring up Affleck's Daredevil?
Yeah,
that huge piece of shit.
Really,
it's not.
I kind of
that
liked it,
bad.
and I mean Jennifer Garner running around in some tight pants helps. I'm just saying, like seriously.
Yeah, it was better than the Electro movie.
Yeah, now that was a snore fest. It was like, are you serious with this? I can't even do it, even if she is going to run around in tight leather pants. But I think that movie suffered from Affleck burnout at that point because he had the shit with Jennifer Lopez and everything, and it was just kind of the cool thing to say is that like, oh, his career's over with. And really, how did he revive his career? He started directing movies. Slowly started, coming back to acting. So, hey, if that movie gave us The Town and Gone Baby Gone, I'll let it stand. It's fair trade in my book.
Yeah.
But the horror movies that are coming out, it seems like I've been reading very with guarded hope the advanced reviews of the new Pet Sematary movie. And the fact that they're allowing people to review it, like they premiered it at South by Southwest, and they've had a few, screenings for the press since then. The fact that they're allowing them to see it before it's released, that's usually a good sign for a movie like that. They don't do that with the new Friday the 13th movies because you know what the fuck you're going to get when you walk in the door.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going because you want to see how Jason develops as a character and grows. You're going because you want to see how he kills the naked bitch with the big titties again. But they're saying that this might be like, this is the changes that have been made in a type of horror they're going for. If this movie does well, this might be like a game changer. It might be the beginning of the slowdown of the jump scare PG-13 horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, and apparently there is the big the reason they gave away that they changed it from the little boy to the little girl getting killed is because there's even a bigger twist after that apparently is so big the reviewers are like, I can't even hint at it. I don't want to ruin it for anybody.
No, really.
Like if you want to see this movie, it will leave you disturbed. It will fuck with your head. And I'm like, what the fuck can they do at the end that I can't see coming? I mean, that was my first Stephen King book. I read that when I was like 11, 10 maybe. Mm-hmm. Saw the movie the day it came out in 1989. Like I know that story backwards and forwards. So it's like what twist are they going for? And if it's that good, hey, if it gets rid of these bullshit like the Nun movies, I'm good with it.
Oh right.
I'm so done with these PG-13 jump scare movies, man. It's just like, get the fuck out of here. And I understand some people like them. If you like them, more power to you. To me, it's just like when I sat through Paranormal Activity, some creepy shit happens, and at the end, the end of the movie is one big jump scare. And I'm like, that's it? I sat through an hour and a half for something I could have saw on the internet in 30 seconds? Seriously? I'm good on that. So maybe we're kind of seeing a renaissance here of the, with Jordan Peele's movies. And I know you said you weren't that big of a fan of the first part of it, but I mean, I got to say, it had a very Stranger Things feel to it, which means it was self-aware, but at the same time, it took itself just seriously enough.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I watched the first half of that movie and it just wasn't doing it for me. And I'm not even sure what really turned me off other than the fact that nothing was necessarily turning me on.
Well, my one buddy who didn't like it, I asked him why he didn't like it, and he goes, I felt like they were trying to force, he goes, especially after the first 2 seasons of Stranger Things, he goes, I felt like they're trying to force this 80s nostalgia down our throats. Like, hey, 80s kids, remember this? Ooh, we put it in a movie. Yeah. And it's like, so that's why you didn't like it?
That was like the biggest downfall of the Captain Marvel movie. Was the way that there were just 90 songs shoehorned in there for no reason.
How many times did they play the freshman in the background?
Right. I mean, the whole climactic battle scene is done to Just a Girl, which is not even that great of a song. I mean, I think it's a horrible song, but
they couldn't at least get spider webs, you know?
But but there's no reason for it, right? You would think that if they were just going to pull some rock songs for the soundtrack, like they did on Guardians of the Galaxy, right? There's a reason for it. There's just a little bit of a plot device. You know, he's got a mixtape, and that's why he likes these songs. It's easy. But Carol Danvers is running around with Guns N' Roses and Nine Inch Nails t-shirts, and then she starts fighting, and it's like, I'm too sexy. Like, what's going on here?
She starts whooping somebody's ass, and all of a sudden you hear Rico Suave.
Right.
The fuck? Rico. Like, get the fuck out of here. First of all, if I saw Carol Danvers in a 9 Inch Nails shirt, she looks like the type of chick I'd walk up to and be like, so are you really a fan, or is that just a fashion statement you found in a thrift store? Like, sorry, I'm not buying the whole thing. I don't think you're down with the downward spiral. Sorry. Just don't strike me as the type.
Discovery Plus is the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Woohoo! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
Regimented. ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net. Unregimented.
But no, I mean, I kind of understood his point. I'm like, I guess I get it, but I think it's like the same people who, you know, Wheels has come back, which used to be 98.7, a rock station here in Detroit. Now they're back on 106.7, and they're
playing the same shitty music.
They're like, we're WLLZ and we're back. We're new classic rock. So basically, from like 2000 to like late 70s. So it's like, hey, remember the music you heard while going to school and getting your first hand job? Listen to our station. And it's just like, like, how really? This is, I can kind of understand bristling at it, because I'm like, stop playing fucking Nirvana every 5 songs.
Another station to play Billy Squire. That's what we need around here.
I mean, I'll give him credit. I did hear Spanish Castle Magic by Jimi Hendrix, which I don't think I've ever heard on the radio actually live. I know that he did a BBC show back in the day that you can get the whole show on, you know, in album form, and that they used that as a single off of his set. But I mean, that was like 68. So I mean, like, outside of NPR or something, I'm like, why would they pick that song? But okay. Now, if they would mix it up like that, stop playing every Pearl Jam song that I know the words to. If I hear, I love the Black Crowes. If I hear anything that was a single off that first album anymore, I'm going to fucking snap, though.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to hear She Talks to Angels. I'm tired of Hard to Handle. Like, never again.
Why can't they play the fuck out of Remedy? Huh?
No shit. That's still a jam.
Wiser Time. That was a single. They even made a video for it. You know, it's like they have more than just that album. You know, Thorn in My Pride. You know, there's plenty of stuff off that second album that was got a lot of radio play. And that's what I was hoping they would do, but it's Doug Podell as he's the PD. And Trudy's on in the afternoons with Bill McAllister. She's on 107.1. Yep. Yeah. So it's like, remember everything? Isn't this comforting? Remember when
it's a giant member berry.
Yeah, exactly. It's the whole
member WLLC.
It's the whole go-kart scene from Clerks 2. It just reminds me of a simpler time in life, you know?
I'm Bill McAllister. I'm waiting for, as soon as Ken Calvert's contract runs out to CSX, they'll bring him over. They'll just reignite the whole, oh, God. I'm glad we do podcasts. I mean, I wasted my parents' money, but, you know, we do podcasts now.
I just think it's funny. I'm just like, wow. Because it went from like the alternative, we're going to try to play some newer stuff. We're going to try to play some like classic alternative at this point.
I was actually leaving it on for a second when it was doing the alternative station for what, 3 months?
Yeah, it didn't last very long.
That was?
Yeah, it didn't play some all right shit. I mean, I remember sitting there and I'm driving home and I hear "Drive" by REM on, and I'm like, I haven't heard that on the radio in decades.
Huh?
You know,
shit you hadn't heard in a while.
I actually heard "OK Computer," not "OK Computer." What's the single off of that album? The animated one.
Paranoid Android.
Paranoid Android. I heard that.
But no, like, what do we need? We need another station that plays ZZ Top.
Play some Dio. Start rocking now.
Yeah, we only that brings, like I said, we're up to 4 stations now that'll play fucking "Don't Fear the Reaper." Great.
I can't get no Go Go Godzilla. Really, I can't even get that.
Well,
yeah, it's
what I did learn in radio too is we kind of program the radio stations. We don't even know it. You know, everything tests well. Every time something tests that isn't familiar, people go, "I don't like that," because they don't know it. So that's why we have playlists with 100 songs on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I guess this is like our once, twice a year we bitch about the state of terrestrial radio. So this is it for at least another 6 months, and at least my verdict is it's no better than it was the last time we talked about it.
I'm glad I have Google Music. That's my take on terrestrial radio.
Oh, I don't know. I got to do something. I got to get some other form because NPR is. I can't listen to that constantly. I'm starting to feel like an old man. Like seriously, like I'm starting to remember the names of the people who do the news updates at the beginning of the hour, and I'm like
starting to learn the rotation.
Yeah. I know this show comes on this time, this show comes on this time, this show comes on this time.
Oh yeah,
and then you get pissed when the sub comes in, you're like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah. Yeah, when I listened to Detroit Today and I'm like, this isn't Steven Henderson. Who's this douchebag? Get him off my radio.
Oh, back when I was a delivery driver. Oh yeah, you knew the rotation, all the people who did the news anchors on the sports station who would do the updates at the top of the hour. All right, it's midday, so it's so-and-so's turn.
Yep.
Oh, hey, it's 4 o'clock. So-and-so starts now. They'll be on till 9. Oh, yeah.
I did want to ask you guys real quick one last thing here if we got a little bit of time for it. Have you guys found any new podcasts that's really kind of grabbed your attention, piqued your interest, made you binge on a little bit?
Oh, do some pod on pod? Yeah. I can share because I'm constantly exploring. You know, I cycle through. I go through periods where I really like listening to WTF, and then I go, maybe twice a week is too much, and I kind of drift away. And so I'm looking for other shit. And now that I do a lot of my work sitting at a desk, I have headphones on most of the time, so I'm running out of shit to listen to. One of my favorite podcasts that I've been listening to since it started is Omnibus. And this is, it's presented as a time capsule for people in the future, but that's just really a framework for them to talk about random things. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit stuff you should know, but more random and more specific topics. And therefore they can go off on random tangents as well. It's quite often that in a 45-minute, hour-long show, they don't even say the topic of the show until like 20 minutes in.
Okay.
And I should say the hosts are Ken Jennings, the guy that won on Jeopardy. Mm-hmm. And I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of the the co-host. He's a musician. Yeah. Anyway, you'll find
that guy.
But it's a purely personality-driven podcast. Their topic is just an excuse for them to get together and talk. And I know that I can't believe that how weird and uptight some people are about podcasts and this idea that it has to follow some sort of structure from radio. Because I hear, when I listen to, especially on Stuff You Should Know, people write into them and tell them that they get upset when they go off on tangents. I'm like, that's called a conversation, right? Isn't that part of what we're listening to podcasts for?
Yeah, and isn't
people
that
having interesting conversations back and forth?
I mean, as much as I do like some classically set up, terrestrial radio shows.
Oh yeah,
they have
when it's done right, it's great.
They have a small window to talk about a subject, and then it's okay. We're scheduled to go on to the next subject. We're scheduled for this break. That's the point of a podcast, is that they can go off on a tangent. They can go down a road that they wouldn't normally have the time to explore.
The Adam Carolla show's built 10 years on going off on tangents.
Yeah.
Pretty much what he does every day is the opening segment is Adam rants about something.
How Dennis Miller, I don't mean to get off on a rant here, but
yeah.
So that's one that I tuned into and really enjoyed and have stuck with. Some other stuff that I have been experimenting with, and I don't know if it's like regular rotation, but Alan Alda's podcast is really good, Clear and Vivid, kind of an offshoot of his book and whole program that he's doing to it's all kind of an educational outreach type of thing. But he has great guests and he has great conversations, and Alan Alda's got just a great voice. There was another one, 20,000 Hertz. And this is one of those more specific podcasts that, I'm sure has found a diehard audience of supporters, but it's not really going to be for everyone. I found out about this podcast through 99% Invisible, who occasionally on that podcast, they will host other people's shows to highlight them. And they did a show, I'm trying to remember which one they presented on 99% Invisible. I can't remember what it was.
I feel like I should be ringing a bell every time Aaron drops like a hipster name.
Right. But 99% Invisible is a really interesting podcast if you're not familiar with that one. I think it's framed as looking at things that are mostly hidden in our life that are actually, right there in plain sight, but we don't see them. So, a lot of this involves like human behavior and how we're manipulated and things like that. But the 20,000 Hertz is a podcast about sounds. So, let me see. I'm actually going to pull it up here and give you some examples of some available episodes. The Bouge is one of the episodes. Now, the Bouge is one of the trade terms for the bass drop that is in like every trailer.
Okay.
Right. And so they talk about how it came about, how they make the sound, how they use it. And like most good quality podcasts like that, it's not just that one thing. It's kind of a good jumping off point to talk about sound design in general and the types of music that's used in trailers.
Isn't that all THX's fault with their sound effect at the beginning of the movies? And they start that back in 5 most thing.
Nah, it's just kind of a frequency sweep. Like the bass drop comes from techno.
Womp, 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 womp. Like that shit.
Yeah. So I don't know, what are some other ones on here? There's a lot that I haven't. They do a whole episode on the Xbox startup sound. There's an episode on the theremin. There's one about jingles. There's one about misophonia. which, if you don't know, is being physically sickened by mouth sounds.
Oh, people who are like driven nuts by the sound of people chewing and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's the opposite of ASMR people.
Well, I mean, I found one that it's interesting because I don't think I've ever heard the premise for a podcast like this until this one. And it really, first of all, it's called Ear Hustle. I don't know if you guys have heard of this one, but
I've heard of it. Yeah.
It's a podcast out of San Quentin prison.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't it the prison one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so far they have 3 seasons, and the episodes are really, they're about, roughly 30 to 45 minutes. So they're, easily short and digestible. And it's not, it's not prisoners talking about poor pity me, I got railroaded, anything like that. They just talk about different aspects of prison life. They go into the history of San Quentin. They talk to death row inmates. And because of San Quentin being right in San Francisco, they get a lot more volunteers because they don't have to travel halfway across the state to go volunteer at San Quentin when it's right there.
Here, be on this podcast. Why? Because you ain't got nothing better to do.
Excuse me. So they go into the different programs they have and stuff, and it really is interesting because it shatters a lot of misconceptions about prison, but at the same time they'll have to remind you San Quentin is a destination prison for long timers. If you got a long sentence, you want to be on your best behavior, and it may take you, some 2, 3, 4, 5 years even to get transferred to San Quentin. But once you do, as long as you keep your nose clean, you're not involved in any bullshit and, drugs, gangs, whatever. There are plenty of programs for you, educational programs, music programs, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just, I think it's a really interesting show. And something really that I did not expect to happen happened at the end of the 3rd season. And I know that kind of sounds like I'm trying to set up like a cliffhanger, but if you're interested in it, it's worth to at least give each of the episodes starting at season 1 maybe a 10, 15-minute shot, see if okay, is this going to be a topic I want to hear about? Because you want to work up to what happens at the end of the 3rd season.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was not planned by anybody. It wasn't like one of these things where this was a plotted thing that was going to happen and they knew it, and so they ended the season on a cliffhanger. It was just no. It's that's the thing. They do have stories that are like that. I mean, when they talked to one guy and he had been there for 12, 13 years, and they were talking about how small he was, and he's kind of a effeminate guy, and some of the problems he'd had in prison, and it turns out boom, after 12 years of being in, he got raped one time. So I mean, they do have serious subjects like that, but they don't dwell on that shit. It's not like, hey, let's get a bunch of prisoners in here and tell us the worst horror stories of prison. It's more like, what are the unwritten rules of prison? Like, don't spit in your sink when you got a cellie. You spit in your toilet. It's considered disrespectful to spit in the sink. A lot of guys, they shower with their undergarments on, and that's how they wash their undergarments.
Shower shorts.
Yeah, literally, yeah. They'll have boxer briefs and a wife beater or a t-shirt on. They go in there and they wash and rinse their clothes as they're wearing them, and they do that to their body, and then they go hang them up in their cell to dry them out.
Oh, you can see,
the different ways. Well, if not, you're going to be stinking. Like at one point, the prison goes on lockdown, and they go
to the laundry room.
Well, that's the thing. That's you really start to understand how shitty prison services are. Like literally, there's guys that come in and they're like, "Yeah, we don't have your size. I don't know what to tell you." So you're just, hoping somewhere you're going to get something to cover your body because you have to be in uniform, or else, well, you might have a problem. You might get stuck in someplace until they can find something that fits you. But they're just like, "Yeah, we're out of your size. Don't tell you. Sorry." But one of the more interesting episodes is they went into what happens during a lockdown. And these, like I said, most of these guys are long timers, guys that are there for 5 or more years. So they're experts at this. They stock up between lockdowns, and then they take what they call bird baths because they got these little 3 foot by 2 foot foot lockers. When they're on lockdown, you can't leave your cell except for once every 72 hours. So they give themselves horse bath in the and they're in their little foot lockers, and they call it a bird bath. They're like, because you're literally like a bird standing in a bird bath cleaning yourself. It's just a little interesting shit like that. And
I find this fascinating. I'm going to have to check it out because I don't want it to seem like objectifying of this because these people are in a shitty situation, but this is a subculture. It's a subculture that most of us know absolutely nothing about, that exists all over this country.
Oh yeah, and the one co-host is she's a volunteer who started up the podcast, and she's like a visual artist and stuff like that. And this is just a completely foreign world to her.
Yeah.
She is literally 3 seasons into it. She's still learning new stuff that her co-host, who is an inmate, is like, you haven't learned that yet? Like, we've been doing this for 3 years. You haven't picked up on that yet? And she's like, no, I didn't know that. It's like, oh yeah. It's one of the many unwritten rules they have in prison. And these are the prisoners' rules for each other, not the prison's rules for the prisoners. And that's where, to me, it gets really fascinating. So yeah, if you're into something like that, definitely check that out.
Well, hipsters, I'm going to go small batch on you. A podcast I've been listening to is called The Soul of Detroit. Local guy, M.L. Elric, he wrote a book called The Kwame Sutra, busted open, I'm sure nationally.
The Kwame Sutra?
Hey, it was him chronicling. Nice. He was one of the reporters instrumental in busting up the whole Kwame Kilpatrick debacle that was going down in Detroit.
Yeah.
The early to mid 2000s. He's got a podcast. It comes out once a week. I check it out. He does it with one of his reporter buddies and another guy who's a producer on a podcast that I listen to daily. And I like it. It's local and it's got his slant to things. He's a good writer and he's translating his style to podcast form, and I dig it.
Nice. I'll have to check that out. I didn't know he had his own show.
It's been out for maybe a month and a half.
Okay.
And new.
Is LaDuff still doing his podcast, or was that like kind of fizzled out?
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
I download every week. I don't get to it every week. But yeah, no. He does it every week.
No, I hear it. And here you go. What other podcast can you listen to that's that comfortable? Because these aren't people that are our friends. This isn't on this network's podcast we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's how comfortable we are. It's like, go listen to a completely separate podcast. Yeah. Check it out.
After you know this one.
Well, yes, of course, always.
Hey, before we go, there's some breaking news here from Trump. Let me see if you guys can hear this. I'm going to play it off my phone here.
Oh boy.
I support the Great Lakes. Always have.
God.
Can you hear that at all?
Yeah.
Very deep. Record deepness, right?
I support the Great Lakes.
Thanks.
Always have. They are beautiful. They are deep, very deep.
He supports the inanimate object.
I didn't realize there were like anti-Great Lakes protesters.
I know.
They needed supporters that were vocal.
People saying there were signs like "fuck these lakes."
Fuck Lake Erie. It's all about Lake Michigan, bitch.
Thanks for weighing in. That you support.
It wasn't controversial until you brought it up. Now there's going to be a bunch of women with pussy hats shitting into the Great Lakes.
Right? Fuck these lakes. Donald Trump supports them.
These lakes are racist.
Racist ass lakes.
You notice the lakes didn't denounce him. Yeah. So they must like the support.
Lakes are complicit.
That's right.
Hashtag.
I thought there was something up with
Lakes.
you, Lake Erie. I'm looking at you.
Oh, Lake Superior. So,
Oh,
Lake Superior. Yeah.
That isn't a liberal haven. I don't know what is.
Lake Superior's got a MAGA hat collection.
Lake Ontario. That's not even American.
Yeah. It doesn't even touch Michigan. It's closer to Canada.
Think about it. Trump shouldn't support the Great Lakes.
He should support the Detroit River, the Rouge River, something like that. Well, he's in Grand Rapids. That's right. He's not in the metro area.
Yeah.
So when he comes through, that's when he'll pander to art. I love the Rouge River. I drive over it every time I come to Michigan. It's a tremendous, tremendous river.
They're famous for their deepness.
Their deepness.
Detroit River, wide river, record wideness.
One of the greatest rivers.
Not like that Cuyahoga River that caught fire.
Yeah.
No. This one knows its water and stays in that form.
Yeah.
It knows its place, stays in its lane. Not like this witch hunt that they just did for me. How about that, crowd? I can totally see him pivoting like that, too.
It's over half over, right? We at least can take comfort in that. It's if he doesn't get elected again. Good Lord.
Yeah, but that's like being half over in the roller coaster ride. Like, if you don't like it now, it ain't getting better.
True.
Yeah, if you're eating the pizza and you get halfway through and it's shitty and there's 12 slices and the 6th slice was shit, you probably throw the rest of it away. It's probably a safe bet.
Yeah.
It's not just magically going to be like, these are the flavor toppings.
Mueller was supposed to throw that pizza out.
Yeah. He just
fucked us all.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess this is where we'll wrap it up. Everybody, thanks for listening. Hit us up on Twitter at UnregimentedPod. That's where you can, the portal for the show, basically. But it's there. You can email us on regimented@christophermedia.net. New shows drop Saturday on christophermedia.net, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much wherever you listen to podcasts. After you're done listening to all those other people's podcasts we plug, go to christophermedia.net and check us out. New shows on Saturday. New listeners welcome. If you're an old listener, thanks for sticking around. And everybody, if you like it, tell a friend, because that's how this thing grows. That's how we've been around so long. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
See ya.
Later, guys.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net.
Of all the streaming services out there, only one is different. Discovery Plus. It's the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes of food, love, true crime, home, from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Yes! With stars like Chip and Jo, an exclusive new series from 90 Day Fiancé, all in one place. Bam! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
ChristopherMedia.net. If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for listening, and thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.